March 8, 2014. A Boeing 777, one of the safest, most advanced machines ever built by human hands, takes off from Kuala Lumpur. It climbs to 35,000 feet. The pilot says goodnight to air traffic control. The weather is clear. Everything is perfect. And then, in 1 second, the plane disappears from the radar. No mayday call, no explosion, no wreckage, just silence. For 10 years, the world has asked the same question. How does a 600,000-pound metal tube carrying 239 souls just vanish off the face of the Earth? We have searched the ocean floor. We have analyzed satellite data. We have found pieces of the plane on beaches thousands of miles away. But we still don't have the main wreckage, and we still don't have the bodies. Was it a fire? Was it a hijacking? Or was it something much darker? A pilot who decided to take his own life and take 238 people with him. Today we are doing a deep dive into the greatest aviation mystery of the 21st century. If you want to support our search for the truth, hit that like button. It helps this video get seen. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications. Let's go back to that fateful night. Chapter 1. The red-eye to Beijing. It was supposed to be a routine flight, Malaysia Airlines Flight 377. There were 227 passengers and 12 crew members on board. They were mostly Chinese nationals returning home to Beijing, along with Australians, Malaysians, French, and Americans. There were artists, engineers, stuntmen, and young couples going on honeymoon. In the cockpit sat two men. The captain was Zahari Ahmad Shah, 53 years old. He was a legend at Malaysia Airlines, a veteran with 18,000 flight hours. He was so obsessed with flying that he even built a flight simulator in his own basement to fly on his days off. The first officer was Fariq Abdul Hamid, 27 years old. He was young, engaged to be married, and this was his final training flight on the 777. At 12:41 a.m., the plane took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport. It climbed smoothly into the night sky over the South China Sea. Chapter 2. Goodnight Malaysian 370. For the first 40 minutes, everything was normal. The pilots communicated with air traffic control. The ACARS system, a computer that sends data about the engine health, sent a routine update at 1:07 a.m. At 1:19 a.m., the plane was leaving Malaysian airspace and entering Vietnamese airspace. The Malaysian controller radioed, "Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9, good night." Captain Zahari replied calmly, "Good night, Malaysian 370. Those were the last words ever heard from the plane. 90 seconds later, at 1:21 a.m., the plane's transponder went dead. The transponder is the device that tells radar, "I am here. I am flight MH370. Someone in the cockpit had to reach over and manually turn a dial to off. Instantly, the green dot representing MH370 vanished from the screens of air traffic control. The Vietnamese controllers waited for the plane to check in. It never did. Chapter 3. The Phantom Turn. If the plane had exploded or crashed right then, there would have been debris in the South China Sea. A massive rescue operation began there. But they were looking in the wrong place. Days later, the Malaysian military revealed a shocking secret. Their primary radar, which tracks raw metal objects in the sky, picked up a blip right after the transponder turned off. The blip didn't fall from the sky. It did something aggressive. It made a sharp, hard left turn. The plane pulled a U-turn, flying back over Malaysia. It flew directly over the island of Penang, Captain Zahari's hometown. The first officer's cell phone briefly connected to a cell tower below, but no call was made. The plane then turned northwest, flying up the Strait of Malacca. It was flying along waypoints, or highways in the sky, which meant a human was flying it. This wasn't an autopilot error. Someone was guiding that plane. At 2:22 a.m., the plane flew beyond the range of military radar. It was heading out into the vast, empty darkness of the Indian Ocean. Chapter 5. The Satellite Handshake, the Seventh Arc. The plane was gone. No radar could see it. The world thought it was lost, but the plane was still alive. Even though the communications were turned off, the plane's Satellite Data Unit, or SDU, automatically powered back up. Once every hour, it sent a handshake or a ping to a satellite owned by a company called Inmarsat. It was like a phone in sleep mode checking for a signal. It didn't send location data, just a "I'm still here" signal. Scientists at Inmarsat analyzed the data using the Doppler effect, math involving the speed of the signal. They realized something terrifying. The plane didn't crash at 2:22 a.m. It kept flying for 6 more hours. The data showed the plane turned south. It flew straight down toward the most remote, desolate place on planet Earth, the southern Indian Ocean, a place where there are no islands, no ships, just freezing water and waves as high as buildings. Chapter 6. The Zombie Flight. Why did it fly south for 6 hours? The leading theory is hypoxia, or the ghost flight. Imagine the cabin pressure fails or is manually turned off. The oxygen masks drop, but they only last 15 minutes. If the pilots pass out, the plane continues to fly on autopilot until it runs out of fuel. We have seen this happen before, like with golfer Payne Stewart's plane, a plane full of unconscious people flying until the engines die. But there is a problem with this theory: the turn. The plane made specific, sharp turns that required a pilot to type commands into the computer. A ghost plane flies straight. MH370 zigzagged before heading south. So if everyone was dead, who turned the plane? At 8:19 a.m., the satellite received a final incomplete handshake. This was likely the moment the engines flamed out. One by one, the massive engines died from lack of fuel. The plane would have entered a steep spiral dive. It would have hit the water at nearly the speed of sound, shattering into 1,000,000 pieces. Chapter 6. The Suspect in the Cockpit. If it wasn't a mechanical failure, then it had to be a human act. This leads us to the most controversial theory: pilot suicide murder. All eyes turned to Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah. On the surface, he was a nice guy. He posted cooking videos on YouTube. He loved his family. But investigators found cracks in his life. Rumors swirled about a failing marriage, though his family denies this. He was politically active and upset about the jailing of a Malaysian opposition leader just hours before the flight. But the smoking gun was found in his basement. The FBI analyzed the hard drive of his home flight simulator. They found deleted data points from a practice flight he had done weeks before the disappearance. The route on the simulator? It took off from Kuala Lumpur, turned up the Malacca Strait, turned south, and ended in the middle of the southern Indian Ocean until fuel exhaustion. It was almost an exact match for the actual flight path of MH370. This suggests that this wasn't an accident. It was a rehearsed event, a calculated plan to disappear where no one would ever look. Chapter 7. The Debris Found, the Flaperon. For over a year, not a single screw from the plane was found. Conspiracy theories went wild. Aliens, black holes, secret landings on Diego Garcia. Then on July 29, 2015, 508 days after the disappearance, a man cleaning a beach on Réunion Island near Madagascar found a large barnacle-covered piece of metal. It was a flaperon, a part of the wing. Experts confirmed the serial numbers. It was from MH370. This proved two things. The plane definitely crashed. It crashed in the Indian Ocean, just like the Inmarsat satellite data said. The ocean currents had carried the debris thousands of miles to Africa. Over the next few years, more pieces washed up in Mozambique, South Africa, and Mauritius. A piece of the engine cowling, a panel from the cabin, but crucially, the main fuselage, the body of the plane, and the black boxes, flight recorders, were never found. Without the black boxes, we cannot know what happened in those final hours. Chapter 8. The Search for the Needle. The search for MH370 was the most expensive in aviation history. Australia, Malaysia, and China spent nearly $150 million scanning 120,000 square kilometers of the ocean floor. They used sonar to map underwater mountains and canyons. They found shipwrecks from the 1800s, but they didn't find the plane. In 2018, a private company called Ocean Infinity offered a no-cure, no-fee deal. They would search for free and only get paid if they found the plane. They had the best technology in the world. They scanned a massive new area. They found nothing. The search was called off. Chapter 9. The Depressurization Theory. So what is the most likely scenario today? Many aviation experts believe Captain Zahari waited until the plane left Malaysian airspace. He said, "Good night," then locked the first officer out of the cockpit or sent him on an errand. He then turned off the transponder. He put on his oxygen mask, and then he depressurized the cabin. At 35,000 feet, without pressure, the passengers would have passed out from lack of oxygen within minutes. It would have been peaceful. They would have just gone to sleep and never woken up. With the passengers and crew neutralized, Zahari was free to fly the plane alone for hours, heading into the darkness until he decided to end it. Chapter 10. 10 years later. It has been over a decade. The families of the 239 people on board are still stuck in limbo. They have no bodies to bury, no answers, just an empty spot at the dinner table. Recently, new technology has emerged. Researchers are proposing WSPR tracking, which uses amateur radio waves to track disturbances in the atmosphere. Some claim this points to a new search location, slightly further west than previous searches. The Malaysian government has said they might reopen the search if there is credible new evidence. Ocean Infinity has offered to search again. Chapter 11. Why it matters. Why are we still obsessed with MH370? Because in 2024, it feels impossible to lose a Boeing 777. We can track a $10 pizza delivery on our phones, but we can't find a massive jetliner? MH370 changed aviation. Now satellites track planes in real time. We have new standards to prevent transponders from being turned off easily. But somewhere, deep in the cold, dark silt of the Indian Ocean, Flight 370 is sitting there. The skeletons of 239 people are waiting. The black boxes are waiting. Until we find them, the ghost of MH370 will never stop flying. The ocean is big, but the truth is out there. We might find it tomorrow, or we might find it in 100 years, like the Titanic. I want to hear your verdict. Do you think the pilot did it, or was it a catastrophic failure? Vote in the poll below. If you found this deep dive valuable, please like and subscribe. It helps us keep the lights on and the investigations going. Thank you for watching, and fly safe.